Imagine being married to someone you love, but no matter how hard you try, they see you as nothing more than a failure. A man whose dreams have crumbled under the weight of her judgment. A woman whose love is measured by the size of a paycheck, and not by the heart beneath the skin. But life has a way of flipping the script. And for one man, a single opportunity could turn everything around. What happens when a man who was once treated as nothing more than a servant rises to unimaginable heights? Will the woman who abandoned him realize too late the price of her pride? Stay tuned as we uncover the shocking truth behind a love lost, a life reclaimed, and the humbling journey that no one saw coming. In the small, modest town of Isapingo, there lived a man named Kofi, whose life was a constant battle against poverty. He had a humble job as a mechanic, fixing old, rusted cars for a living. The money was never enough, but he loved his family, especially his wife, Akosua, who once had seen him as her equal. They had been married for 5 years, and together, they shared dreams of building a better future. However, as the years passed, something inside Akosua began to change. Akosua was a beautiful woman, full of energy and ambition, with dreams that stretched far beyond the walls of their small, run-down home. She had always wanted more luxury, more status, more comfort. But Kofi's humble position had begun to wear on her. The first few years of their marriage had been filled with love, laughter, and promises of a bright future. But as the bills piled up, and the weight of their financial struggles grew heavier, Akosua's patience started to wear thin. The turning point came when Kofi was unable to fix the family's old refrigerator. He tried everything, but the machine was beyond repair. Akosua, frustrated by the endless failures and constant struggle, snapped. "Why can't you do anything right?" she shouted, her voice echoing through their small house. "You're always so useless. A man who can't even fix a simple appliance, what are you good for? All you do is waste my time." Kofi stood silently, his head hung low, as his wife's words cut into him like sharp daggers. This was not the first time Akosua had belittled him. Over the months, her attitude had grown colder, more dismissive. Every argument, every failure, seemed to confirm her belief that he would never amount to anything. She treated him like a servant, ordering him around the house, never showing him the respect he deserved. He worked tirelessly, sometimes spending long hours under the scorching sun, repairing cars that barely ran. His clothes were often stained with grease, his hands calloused and rough. But no matter how hard he tried, it was never enough for Akosua. She would constantly compare him to other men in the neighborhood who had better jobs, bigger homes, and more money. "You're nothing like them," she would say, her voice dripping with disdain. "You'll never be successful. I should have married someone else." Kofi's heart sank every time she spoke like this. He tried to keep his emotions in check, but deep down, a sense of humiliation festered inside him. His wife, the woman he loved, had begun to look at him with contempt. As the weeks turned into months, Kofi began to feel trapped. He no longer saw a way out of the cycle of poverty. The tension in their home grew thicker, and Akosua's insults became more frequent, more painful. She had stopped seeing him as her partner and began to view him as little more than a servant, a man whose sole purpose was to serve her needs and cater to her desires. One fateful evening, after another humiliating argument, Kofi sat in the darkness of their living room, staring at the worn-out furniture and the cold, empty space around him. He wondered if Akosua's attitude would ever change. Would she ever see him for who he truly was? Or would she forever look down on him, a man who could never live up to her expectations? Little did Kofi know, life was about to take a turn that would shatter everything Akosua had believed about him. The days after Kofi's most recent argument with Akosua felt like a blur. Each morning, he woke up to the same routine, fixing cars, returning to a home that had once been filled with warmth, but now seemed cold and indifferent. Akosua had grown distant, spending more time on her phone, scrolling through social media, her eyes often lingering on posts that showcased the lavish lifestyles of others. It was as if her dreams had begun to fade into something she could only glimpse through a screen. But one fateful morning, everything changed. It started with a phone call. Kofi had been walking under the hood of a car when his phone rang. It was an unknown number, one he nearly ignored. But something urged him to answer. "Hello. Kofi, it's me, Nana." The voice on the other end was that of a former classmate, now a successful businessman with a reputation that reached far beyond their small town. "I have a proposition for you." Kofi's heart skipped a beat. He remembered Nana well from their school days. Nana had been the popular one, the one with all the opportunities, the one who always seemed to have his life together. Kofi had often wondered what it would have been like if he'd had the same chances. Nana's voice was smooth, confident. "I'm looking to expand my business. I've heard about your skills as a mechanic, and I think you're just the person I need to help with some projects I've been working on. It would be a significant pay raise, Kofi, way more than you're making now." Kofi couldn't believe it. A real opportunity, something he'd never dared to dream of. His mind raced as he thought about how this could change everything. He could provide for his family in ways he never had before. Perhaps Akosua would finally see him for who he truly was, capable, hardworking, and deserving of respect. But there was a catch. "We'll need you to relocate," Nana continued. "The job will require you to move to the city, but the pay will more than make up for the distance. It's a big step, but I know you can handle it." Kofi's heart wavered. He thought of Akosua. Would she support him? Or would she resent him for leaving their home behind, even if it was for a better future? He took a deep breath. "When do I start?" The news of Kofi's new opportunity spread quickly. He didn't tell Akosua right away, not wanting to get her hopes up. He knew she would likely be thrilled, but a part of him was still uncertain. He had spent so long living in her shadow, trying to prove his worth, that the thought of stepping away from everything felt surreal. The day he told her came suddenly. Akosua was in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone as usual. Kofi stood in the doorway, watching her for a moment. "Akosua, I've been offered a job in the city," he said quietly. She didn't look up from her phone. "Really?" she replied indifferently. "Is it going to pay better?" "Yes." "A lot better," Kofi said, his voice steady despite the nerves inside. "But it will mean living here. We'll have to relocate." For the first time in a long while, Akosua's eyes met his. Her expression shifted, not with the excitement he had hoped for, but with something else. Something hard to read. She stood up and walked toward him. "So, you think you can just take off, leave me here with nothing?" Kofi's heart sank. "I thought it would be good for us, for our future." She shook her head, her lips curling into a sneer. "I don't need you to change my life. I'm fine on my own." Kofi recoiled, the sting of her words biting deeper than any of the insults she'd thrown his way before. "You know what, Akosua? Maybe it's time I stop trying to live up to your expectations." Akosua didn't respond. Instead, she turned back to her phone, as if the conversation had never happened. Kofi stood there, stunned by her apathy. The realization hit him harder than he expected. She had stopped believing in him long ago. He walked out of the house that afternoon with a mix of emotions swirling inside him. The opportunity for a better life was right there, yet Akosua's coldness only made him question whether it was worth it. He had already endured so much judgment, so much disregard. And now, as he stood on the precipice of something that could change his life, he wondered if it was enough to heal the broken bond between them. Kofi spent the next few days packing his things, preparing for the move to the city. The weight of his decision felt heavier with each passing hour, but he knew it was the right choice, for him, for his future. Still, the thought of leaving Akosua behind, of stepping into a new life without her, tugged at his heart.